The envelope arrived on a Tuesday, which felt fitting. Bad news always seems to find its way to you on Tuesdays, as if the universe wants to ease you into the week before dropping the weight. It was thick, cream-colored, the kind of stationery my mother favored for anything that required an appearance of importance. I recognized her handwriting immediately, the looping cursive that had signed my report cards, my birthday cards, the occasional guilt-laced letter reminding me of my obligations. I didn't open it right away. I set it on my kitchen counter, made a cup of tea, watered the small herb garden I kept on my windowsill. I went through the rituals of my evening, delaying the moment when I would have to confront whatever my parents had decided to send me this time. We weren't estranged, exactly, but we weren't close. I had learned over the years that proximity to my family meant proximity to disappointment, and I had chosen to keep a comfortable distance. When I finally opened the envelope, I found a letter from my parents' lawyer. The language was formal, precise, the kind of language designed to convey information without emotion. It informed me that my parents had updated their will. The house, the family home on Maple Street, valued at $840,000, was to be left to my sister, Laura, and her husband, with the provision that they could live in it or sell it as they saw fit. I was mentioned in the will as receiving a set of my grandmother's china and a small cash bequest of $10,000. I read the letter twice, then a third time, trying to parse the meaning behind the words. The house I had grown up in, the house where I had spent 18 years feeling like a guest in my own family, was going to my sister. Not to both of us, not split in any equitable way, but entirely to Laura and her family. The reason, I learned, was spelled out in a separate letter my mother had included, handwritten on matching cream stationery. Dearest Claire, I hope this letter finds you well. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking about the future, and we've decided it's time to update our will. I know you've always been independent, and we're so proud of the life you've built for yourself. You've never needed our help, and that's a credit to your character. Laura, as you know, has the children to think about. Emma and Jack need stability, and with the economy the way it is, we want to make sure they have a secure future. The house is the only real asset we have, and it only makes sense to leave it to her. She has a family to provide for. You understand. We've also decided to leave you Grandma Helen's china. She always wanted you to have it, and we know you'll treasure it. With love, Mom. I set the letter down and stared at the wall. She has a family to provide for. You understand. I did understand. I understood perfectly. I had understood for 42 years. My sister Laura was 2 years older than me, and from the moment we were born, the pattern of our lives was set. Laura was the golden child, beautiful, outgoing, the kind of person who walked into a room and immediately became its center. She was the one my parents bragged about at dinner parties, the one whose achievements were celebrated, the one whose future was invested in. I was the quiet one, the practical one, the one who didn't need as much because I was so good at making do. I got good grades, but they were expected. I went to college on scholarships, because my parents had already spent the college fund on Laura's private university. I built a career in accounting, steady and reliable, while Laura bounced from job to job, always waiting for the perfect opportunity that never quite materialized. When Laura got married at 23, my parents paid for a lavish wedding that cost more than my entire college education. When I got married at 30, they gave me a set of towels and a gift card to a home goods store. My husband, Mark, had been furious, but I had shrugged it off. It was just the way things were. When Laura had her first child, Emma, my parents bought her a house, not the family home, but a starter house in a nice neighborhood, a gift they said was necessary to keep the baby safe and comfortable. I had just been diagnosed with endometriosis, facing the possibility that I might never have children, and they never asked. They never once asked how I was doing. The pattern continued. Laura had a second child, Jack, and my parents added an addition to her house to give the children more room. I had a hysterectomy at 35, and my parents sent a card. A card. No phone call, no visit, no acknowledgement of what I was going through. Just a card with a generic message and a check for $50. I had learned, over the years, to stop expecting anything. I had built a life with Mark, a quiet, contented life in a small house 20 minutes from my parents. We had a garden, 2 cats, a circle of friends who saw us for who we were. I had my accounting practice, small but successful, and I had learned to find satisfaction in the work itself rather than the recognition it brought. And I had paid my parents' property taxes for 6 years. It started when my father lost his job during the recession. They were struggling, facing the possibility of losing the house they had lived in for 40 years. They didn't ask me for help. They never asked me for anything because they didn't think I had anything to give. But I heard about it from my aunt, who mentioned in passing that they were going through a rough patch. I went to the county tax office the next day and paid the overdue taxes. It was a substantial amount, nearly $8,000, but I had the savings, and it was my parents' home. I told myself I was doing it for them, for the roof that had sheltered me, for the memories of my childhood, for the hope that maybe, this once, they would see me. They didn't. When I told them I had paid the taxes, my mother smiled vaguely and said, "Oh, that's nice, dear." My father nodded, distracted, already thinking about something else. They didn't ask how I had afforded it, didn't thank me, didn't acknowledge the sacrifice I had made. The next year, the taxes came due again, and I paid them again. And the next year, and the next, and the next. It became a routine, something I did without thinking, without expecting gratitude. I paid the taxes because I could, because the alternative was watching my parents lose their home, because some part of me still hoped that one day they might see me. 6 years. $47,000. And now they were leaving the house I had been keeping afloat, to my sister. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time, the letters spread out before me. Mark came home from work, saw my face, and sat down across from me without a word. What happened? I handed him the letters. He read them in silence, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to a cold, controlled anger I had rarely seen in him. "They left the house to Laura," he said. "The house you've been paying the taxes on for 6 years. They have kids," I said, and the words tasted like ash. "They have kids." He set down the letters carefully as if they might explode. "And you have nothing." "I have the china." He looked at me, and I saw the rage he was holding back. "Claire, what are you going to do?" I thought about the question. I thought about the years of invisibility, the decades of being the daughter who didn't need anything, who didn't ask for anything, who was so easy to overlook. I thought about the $47,000 I had poured into a house that was never going to be mine. I thought about the card my parents sent when I lost my uterus, the wedding towels, the $50 check. "I'm going to stop paying the taxes," I said. Mark's eyes widened. "Claire, they left the house to Laura. She can pay the taxes. She has a family to provide for." I folded the letters and slipped them back into the envelope. "I'm done." It wasn't a decision I made lightly. I spent the next week wrestling with guilt, with the voice in my head that sounded like my mother telling me I was being selfish, ungrateful, cruel. I thought about my parents, in their 70s now, facing the possibility of losing the only home they had ever known. I thought about Laura, who had never held a job for more than 2 years, who had always been bailed out by my parents, who had never had to face the consequences of her choices. And I thought about myself. The daughter who had been invisible for 42 years. The woman who had paid $47,000 for a house that was never going to be hers. The person who had been told over and over that she didn't matter because she didn't have children. I stopped paying. The first month, nothing happened. The taxes were due at the end of the quarter, and I simply didn't send the check. I had set up automatic payments years ago, and I canceled them with a few clicks, my heart pounding the entire time. I expected my parents to call, to notice, to ask what had happened. They didn't. The second month, a notice arrived at their house. I know this because my mother mentioned it in passing during a phone call about Thanksgiving plans. "Some mix-up with the taxes," she said, her voice dismissive. "We'll sort it out." She didn't ask me about it. She didn't mention that I had been paying them for 6 years. She didn't seem to remember that I existed at all. The third month, the foreclosure notice arrived. My mother called at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I was in the garden, deadheading roses, when my phone buzzed with her ringtone. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I wiped my hands on my jeans and answered. Claire. Her voice was high, strained, the voice of someone who had been screaming and was only now trying to control it. What did you do? Good morning, Mom. Don't good morning me. We got a notice. A foreclosure notice. The county says we haven't paid property taxes in 3 months. She paused, and I could hear her breathing, fast and shallow. You've been paying them. What happened? I sat down on the garden bench, looking at the roses I had planted the year before. They were blooming now, deep crimson, the color of something that had been waiting a long time to be seen. I stopped, I said. What? I stopped paying the taxes, Mom. I've been paying them for 6 years. $47,000. And when I found out you were leaving the house to Laura, I decided it was time for someone else to take over. The silence on the other end of the line was absolute. I could hear my mother processing, the gears turning, the familiar machinery of dismissal and denial cranking into motion. Claire, that house is all we have. You know that. We're leaving it to Laura because she has the children, because they need the stability. You've always been independent. You've always been fine on your own. I thought you understood. I understand perfectly. I've always understood. My voice was calm, steady, the voice I used with clients who were trying to avoid the truth about their finances. You left me out of the will. You left me out of your life. You've been leaving me out since I was born. And I've accepted it because I thought that's what family did. I thought if I was good enough, quiet enough, undemanding enough, you would eventually see me. Claire. But you never saw me. You never asked how I was when I had my surgery. You never thanked me for the taxes. You never noticed that I was there, keeping the roof over your head, while you poured everything into Laura and her children. I paused, letting the words settle. And now you want me to keep paying? You want me to fund a house I'm never going to inherit for a sister who has never once asked how I'm doing. Your sister has children to think about. I know. She has children. And I have nothing. I stood up, walking toward the house. I'm not paying the taxes anymore, Mom. I'm not paying for a house that was never going to be mine. If Laura wants the house, she can pay for it. If she can't, the county will take it. That's not my problem. You would let us lose our home? Your father and me? We're in our 70s, Claire. We have nowhere else to go. Then maybe Laura should sell her house. Or take out a loan. Or get a job. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. She has a family to provide for. Let her provide. The silence stretched. I could hear my mother crying now, soft sounds she was trying to suppress. You're cruel, she whispered. I never thought you were capable of such cruelty. I learned from the best. I ended the call. I stood in my kitchen for a long time, the phone in my hand, waiting for the guilt to come. It didn't. Instead, I felt a vast, empty calm, the peace that comes when you finally stop waiting for people who will never see you. The fallout was, as expected, nuclear. My father called next, his voice heavy with disappointment. Claire, your mother is devastated. I don't understand what's gotten into you. We're family. We were family when I was paying your taxes. We were family when you were spending my inheritance on Laura's house. We were family when you left me out of the will. I kept my voice even. Now we're family when I stop? This isn't about the will. It's about your mother and me losing our home. Do you really want that on your conscience? I thought about the question. I thought about the $47,000, the 6 years, the decades of invisibility. I thought about the card they sent when I lost my ability to have children, the wedding towels, the gift card to a home goods store. I'll help you find a lawyer, I said. I'll help you navigate the foreclosure process. I'll even help you apply for senior assistance programs. But I'm not paying another cent toward a house that was never going to be mine. He hung up on me. Laura called next, her voice a mixture of outrage and entitlement. How could you do this to Mom and Dad? They're old. They're sick. They can't lose the house. Then you pay the taxes. I can't afford that. You know I can't. Then sell your house. Use the equity. Or take out a loan. Or get a job. I sat at my kitchen table, watching the afternoon light shift across the floor. You have options, Laura. You've always had options. I've just been the one paying for them. This isn't about money. It's about family. It's always been about money. For Mom and Dad, for you, for all of you. I was the one who didn't have children, so I didn't need anything. I was the one who was independent, so I could be ignored. I was the one who paid the taxes, so the rest of you could live comfortably. I paused. Well, I'm done being the one. You're going to regret this. I already regret the $47,000 I'll never see again. I don't think I can regret much more. She hung up, and I sat in the silence, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal maneuvering and family drama. My parents hired a lawyer to fight the foreclosure, but without the back taxes paid, there was nothing to fight. The county was patient, but not infinitely so. The deadline loomed. Laura didn't pay. I had expected that. She had never paid for anything in her life, and she wasn't about to start now. Instead, she tried to rally the extended family against me. Aunts and uncles called, some sympathetic, some accusatory, all wanting to know what was happening. I gave them the facts. I had paid the taxes for 6 years. I had been left out of the will. I had stopped paying. The rest was between me and my parents. Most of them didn't know what to say. The pattern of favoritism had been obvious to everyone for decades, but no one had ever spoken about it. Now, with the house on the line, it was impossible to ignore. My cousin Sarah, who had always been my ally, called me late one night. "Claire, I've been talking to Mom about everything." She told me about the taxes, about the will. I had no idea. No one had any idea. No one was paying attention. "I'm paying attention now." She paused. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. I'm going to do nothing. I've done enough. Good for you." Her voice was warm, supportive. It's about time someone made them see. The foreclosure notice was the turning point. My parents had 60 days to pay the back taxes, nearly $12,000 now, with penalties and interest, or the county would take the house. They couldn't pay it. Laura couldn't pay it. I wouldn't pay it. My mother called again, this time with a different tone. The anger was gone, replaced by something that might have been desperation. "Claire, please. We'll change the will. We'll leave you the house. Just pay the taxes. Please." I considered the offer. It was what I had wanted, once, the acknowledgement, the inclusion, the proof that I mattered. But it was too late. The offer wasn't love, it was transaction. They were offering me the house because they needed me, not because they wanted me. "I don't want the house, Mom. I never wanted the house. I wanted you to see me. I wanted you to value me. I wanted you to be proud of me, the way you were proud of Laura." I paused, my voice catching. "And you never did. You never will. Claire, it's too late. I'm not paying the taxes. I'm not paying for a house that was never going to be mine. I'm not paying for a family that was never going to love me." I ended the call, and this time, I didn't wait for the guilt to come. I knew it wouldn't. The house was foreclosed on a Thursday in November. I heard about it from my cousin, who had heard about it from my aunt. My parents had moved into a small apartment, the kind of place that smelled of cigarette smoke and loneliness. Laura had offered to let them stay with her, but her husband had refused. The house she had been given was too small for her family, let alone her parents. I sat in my garden, looking at the roses, and I didn't feel anything. Not triumph, not satisfaction, not grief. Just a quiet emptiness, the absence of something that had been missing for a long time. Mark found me there, brought me a cup of tea, and sat beside me without a word. He knew me well enough to know that I didn't need comfort or advice. I just needed someone to be there. "Are you okay?" he asked after a long silence. "I don't know. I think I will be." He took my hand. "Whatever you need. I need to let go. I need to stop waiting for them to be the parents I wanted." I looked at him, at the steady kindness in his eyes. "I have you. I have our life. That's enough. It is enough. It's more than enough." We sat together as the sun set, and I let go of something I had been carrying for 42 years. The weight of being invisible, of being overlooked, of being the daughter who didn't matter. I released it, and the silence that followed was not empty but full. Full of possibility, of peace, of the life I had built without them. The months after the foreclosure were quiet. My parents didn't call. Laura didn't call. The extended family, unsure how to navigate the new reality, kept their distance. I was in exile, and it was surprisingly peaceful. I threw myself into my work, my garden, my life with Mark. I started a small side project, a blog about financial literacy for women, aimed at helping others avoid the invisibility that had defined my own life. It grew slowly, organically, attracting readers who recognized themselves in my stories. I wrote about the taxes, the will, the years of being overlooked. I wrote about the moment I stopped paying. And I wrote about what came after. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of comments, emails, messages from women who had been through similar experiences. Women who had been told they didn't matter because they didn't have children. Women who had been written out of wills, out of family histories, out of the narratives that defined their families. Women who had paid and paid and paid and never been seen. I didn't respond to all of them, but I read each one. And slowly, the story I had lived became something more, a testimony, a validation, a gift I could offer to others who were still invisible. 6 months after the foreclosure, I received a letter from my father. It was handwritten, the script shaky and uncertain. I recognized the stationery, the same cream-colored paper my mother had used, but this time without the matching envelope. It was just a letter, folded into a business envelope, addressed to me in my father's hand. Claire, I'm writing this because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to write anything. The doctors found something, cancer, advanced, not much they can do. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not asking for you to come home. I'm asking for something simpler and harder. I'm asking you to hear me out, just once, before I go. I failed you. I failed you from the moment you were born, and I kept failing you every day for 42 years. I let your mother make decisions I should have questioned. I let Laura take things that weren't hers. I let you disappear into the background while everyone else occupied the foreground. I told myself you were fine, that you didn't need me, that my attention was better spent elsewhere. I told myself lies because the truth was too painful to face. The truth is, I was afraid of you. Not in the way you might think. I wasn't scared of your anger or your judgment. I was afraid of your strength, your independence, your absolute refusal to need me. You were so capable, so self-sufficient, that I convinced myself you didn't want or need my involvement. It was easier to focus on Laura, who demanded everything, than to confront the daughter who asked for nothing and therefore made me feel useless. I know that's not an excuse. It's not even a good explanation. But it's the truth as best I can understand it, and I wanted you to know it before I die. I'm proud of you, Claire. I should have said it 1,000 times, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of you. Not for your success, though that's remarkable. For your resilience. For your refusal to be diminished. For the life you've built, despite everything. If you can find it in your heart to visit, I would like to see you one last time. If you can't, I understand. Either way, I want you to know that I love you. I always have. I was just too weak and too blind to show it. Dad. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in the drawer of my nightstand, next to the photograph of my grandmother, the only person in my family who had ever seen me clearly. I didn't respond immediately. I needed time to process, to decide what I wanted. Mark, as always, was there, offering support without pressure. You don't have to go, he said. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. I know. I sat in my garden, looking at the roses. They were blooming again, crimson and full, the color of something that had been waiting a long time to be seen. I think I need to see him. Not for him. For me. He nodded. I'll go with you. Thank you. We flew to Florida the next week, where my parents had moved after losing the house. The apartment was small, cramped, the kind of place that held the accumulated detritus of a life reduced. My father was thinner than I remembered, his body diminished by the cancer that was consuming him. But his eyes were clear, and when he saw me in the doorway, they filled with tears. Claire. His voice was weak, but the word was unmistakable. You came. I crossed the room and sat in the chair beside his bed. I came. We sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of years pressing down on us. My mother was in the kitchen. I could hear her moving around, preparing something. She didn't come out. She wasn't ready, and neither was I. I don't deserve this, my father said. I don't deserve you being here. Probably not. I didn't soften the words. But I'm not here because you deserve it. I'm here because I needed to see you. To hear what you had to say. to decide for myself what comes next. He nodded, accepting my terms. What do you want to know? Everything. Start at the beginning and don't leave anything out. And so he told me about his own childhood, his own parents, the patterns of neglect and favoritism that had shaped him long before I was born. About meeting my mother, falling in love, building a life together. About the arrival of children, first Laura, then me, and the gradual, unconscious allocation of attention and resources that had defined our family dynamics. Laura was easier, he said. She demanded things, so we gave them. You never demanded anything, so we assumed you didn't want anything. It was that simple and that stupid. It was that cruel. Yes. He didn't argue. It was cruel. We were cruel. And we didn't even realize it because you never complained, never fought back, never gave us any reason to question our assumptions. You were too good, Claire. Too strong. We mistook your strength for indifference, your resilience for absence of need. I listened without interrupting, letting his words wash over me. Some of them landed, penetrating the armor I had built. Others slid off, unable to penetrate the layers of protection I had accumulated over 4 decades. I don't expect you to forgive me, he continued. I don't expect you to pretend that everything is fine, that the past doesn't matter, that we can be a happy family in my final days. I just wanted you to know that I see you now. I see who you are, what you've become, how much you've achieved. And I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I reached out and took his hand. It was thin, fragile, the skin papery against my palm. I see you too, I said. I see your failures and your regrets and your desperate attempt to make things right before it's too late. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if anything can ever be enough. But I see you and I'm here, and for now, that's what matters. He squeezed my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. Thank you. We talked for another hour about his life, my work, the mundane details we had never shared. He asked about the blog, about the women who wrote to me, about the garden I had planted. I told him about the roses, the ones I had tended since before the foreclosure, the ones that bloomed every spring without fail. Your grandmother would be proud of you, he said. She always believed in you. She used to say you were the strongest person she'd ever known. She was the only one who saw me. I see you now. His eyes were wet. I wish it hadn't taken losing everything for me to open my eyes. But I see you, Claire. And I'm so proud of you. I stayed with him for 3 days, sitting by his bed, talking about nothing and everything. My mother kept her distance, appearing only to bring food and medication, exchanging the barest civilities. We didn't talk about the house, the will, the years of silence. There was nothing left to say. On the 3rd night, my father died. I was there when he went, holding his hand, watching the life fade from his eyes. I felt no triumph, no satisfaction, no grief. Just a quiet acceptance of the natural order of things. After the funeral, I returned home. The garden was waiting, the roses still blooming, the cats demanding attention. Mark held me as I cried, finally, the tears I had been holding back for years. It's over, I whispered. It's finally over. It's just beginning, he said. Your life. Our life. Whatever comes next. He was right. The years of waiting, of hoping, of being invisible, they were behind me. Ahead was something new, something I had built myself, something no one could take away. The blog grew. I wrote about the foreclosure, the taxes, the years of being overlooked. I wrote about the moment I stopped paying, the moment I stopped waiting, the moment I became visible to myself. Women wrote to me from all over the country, sharing their own stories, their own invisibility, their own moments of reckoning. I didn't have answers for all of them, but I had my story, and that was something. Laura never reached out. I heard through the grapevine that she had moved again, chasing opportunities that never materialized. Her marriage was strained, her children struggling, her life a mirror of the chaos my parents had tried so hard to protect her from. I didn't wish her ill. I didn't wish her well. I simply didn't think about her. My mother moved into a nursing home, the one my father's small pension could afford. I visited her once, 6 months after his death. She was smaller than I remembered, diminished in a way that had nothing to do with age. She sat in a chair by the window, looking out at a courtyard that was trying very hard to be a garden. Claire. Her voice was soft, uncertain. I wasn't sure you would come. I came. We sat in silence for a long moment. The room smelled of antiseptic and old age, the particular scent of endings. I'm sorry, she said. I know it's too late. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm sorry. I looked at her, this woman who had given me life, and then spent 42 years treating my existence as an afterthought. I didn't feel anger anymore. I didn't feel sadness. I felt something closer to pity for her, for my father, for the lives they had wasted trying to protect the wrong child. I forgive you, I said. Not because you deserve it. Because holding on to anger was poisoning me, and I've let it go. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. I didn't visit again. I sent cards on her birthday, on Mother's Day, on Christmas. She sent cards back, the same cream-colored stationery, the same looping cursive. We exchanged the polite formalities of strangers who shared DNA but not lives. She died 3 years later. I attended the funeral, sat in the back, watched the few people who had gathered say their goodbyes. Laura was there with her children, looking older and more tired than I remembered. She didn't approach me. I didn't approach her. After the service, I walked to the car and Mark was waiting. He took my hand and we drove home in silence. The house on Maple Street was sold at auction. I don't know who bought it, don't know what it became. I never drove by, never looked it up online. The address was just a number now, a place I had lived once, a house I had paid to keep standing long after it stopped being home. Today, I am 52 years old. I have a garden that blooms every spring, a husband who sees me, a life I built with my own hands. The blog has become a book, the book has become a speaking career, and the speaking career has become a foundation that helps women who have been overlooked reclaim their financial independence. I talk to women all the time who are living the life I lived, invisible, undervalued, waiting for someone to see them. I tell them my story. I tell them about the taxes, the will, the foreclosure. I tell them about the moment I stopped paying, the moment I stopped waiting, the moment I became visible to myself. I tell them that the only person who can make you visible is you. The roses are blooming again. Crimson, full, the color of something that has been waiting a long time to be seen. I cut a few and bring them inside, arranging them in a vase on the kitchen table. Mark is reading in the living room, the cat's curled at his feet. The house is quiet, the evening light soft and golden. I think about my parents, about Laura, about the house on Maple Street. I think about the $47,000, the 6 years, the decades of invisibility. I think about the foreclosure notice, the phone call, the moment I said no. I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it. The pain, the loss, the long and difficult work of becoming visible, it was worth it. It was all worth it. Because now I am here. Now I am seen. Now I am enough. I cut one more rose and place it in the vase. It's perfect, like all the others. A small, beautiful thing, grown from the soil of a life I chose. And it is enough.